Hello and welcome to Work-Life Matters. I'm Siv Negesi, your host, and I'm excited to be bringing you candid stories, practical strategies, and awesome insights as we chat to a range of cross-section professionals, entrepreneurs, and startups, and much more to find out about how work-life matters to you, about them. Today I'm talking to Gift Labela, Lorna Pretorius, and Dokuna Moema about sustainable community. I hope you enjoy. So in this particular podcast, we're talking about the sustainable community, and it is the importance of building healthy sustainability in business and partnerships. How are you doing today, Lorna Pretorius?
I'm very well, thank you, Siv.
You said earlier you were Italian, but your surname is Pretorius. Did you marry Pretorius? What happened?
I'm second generation. South African Italian.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah, and my husband's Afrikaans.
So a bit of braai and a bit of pizza.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we've actually worked together before, but this is you working in a different company now, and I'm learning a lot about your current company. Tell us a bit about what the company is.
So, Faithful to Nature is an online, natural, and sustainable retailer. So, how the business actually started, and we've been going for 16 years. How the business started was 16, 17 years ago, our founder, Robin Smith, who is female.
I love that she could have been male or female. I love the way I love that.
As
you said it, I was like, in my head, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah. Look, I think it's also important to mention because it's interesting to note that actually only 1 in 5 businesses in South Africa is woman-owned. So we're quite proud of the fact that we're woman-owned, and so we mention it whenever we can. But I think where it started out was Robin was on her own personal sustainability journey, and she was looking for natural and sustainable products and couldn't find them. And she realized that if she couldn't find them, then nobody else could find them in South Africa, and she thought that that was a wonderful opportunity to really try and find these natural and sustainable products and make them more accessible to other South Africans, and hence Faithful to Nature was born. And it's pretty much all in the name, Faithful to Nature.
I have done some stuff with you, online stuff with you guys. Do you guys have collagen by somewhere?
We do.
A quick story. So my producer's looking at me like, what are you doing? But I got to tell a quick story. So you guys sent me collagen. Like 2 things of collagen. Now, collagen is it works very well, and it's not the cheapest thing in the world, but it
works very well for your gut, for your skin.
Very well.
Yeah.
So I start realizing that my collagen is getting finished day by day. What is happening to my collagen? So after a while, I said to my domestic worker, "Sorry, man, are you using my collagen?" She goes, "What? The cremora?" She thought that my collagen was cremora. She was drinking it with her coffee, and I was like, "No wonder your skin looks so good."
I was just going to say, did her skin look great?
Yes, I have looked at you guys. Okay, tell us about why sustainability is important to you.
Well, I think, to be honest, my personal belief is that sustainability should be important to all humans because it's around preserving our natural habitat. It's around ensuring that Mother Earth stays safe for us and for our children and habitable. We can already start to see the results of climate change, crazy storms, crazy heat waves, the fires in California. There's a lot of evidence to support the fact that our world is warming and that we need to start taking sustainability more seriously. And so I don't really think that it's a personal choice. I actually think it's an imperative for everybody. And it doesn't mean that not everybody needs to move to the woods and become vegan. I think all of us can make small changes in our day-to-day that can help us live more sustainably and that can have an impact to help protect our world and our environment for us and our children.
Agreed. So do you foresee any food or product trends coming in the next year or so, or even this year?
I'm so excited about that question because we actually kicked off this year with a focus on the trends that we wanted to explore with our customers this year. So the first one was around exploring the link between metabolic health and nervous system health. So metabolic health refers to how you metabolize things, and that's been quite a focus in the wellness space for the last 3 or 4 years. But what we're starting to see, so that's around, your glucose levels, your blood sugar, how you balance that, how your body metabolizes food. But what we're starting to see is that that's shifting a lot more into nervous system health as well. And nervous system health regulates a lot of your brain functions, so that, look, I don't want to get too technical about this because I'm not a medical doctor, but I think it's really interesting that, we're starting to see that shift in terms of, it's not just about, first it was gut health, then it was metabolic health, and now we're starting to see nervous system health being built on top of that, which is interesting. So that's one of the first trends we're seeing. The second one we're seeing is around hormonal health at every life stage, and it's more for women.
Okay, as you said that, as soon as you said hormonal, I thought woman, but men are involved in that as well somehow, are they
so,
not?
Look, men do have hormones as well. So there is definitely, but the reality is that hormonal cycles and hormonal imbalances are a lot more complex for women than they are for men. Because remember, we have reproductive cycles, so, women are bearing children, which has a huge impact on hormones, the menstrual cycle. So there's a lot more complexity around hormonal health for women, which is why it tends to be more of a focus for women. Although, let's be fair, the guys have hormones too.
No, okay. So, and how important do you think, I know we're going veering off, but how important do you think it is for men to understand the hormonal process of women? Because I run a charity that distributes sanitary pads across the country, and every time we're talking to a high school, I tell them, no, the boys must be here as well, because the boys need to understand everything that is happening.
I agree. The reality is that women make up 50% of the population. And I think, especially when it comes to reproductive health, that is often something that is shared, with a male partner, parenthood. And so I think it is really helpful if male partners can support and understand in that space. So, that's great. And I'm very supportive of that.
All right. Can one person or one business really make a difference?
I think so, and I think Faithful to Nature has proven that you can. We have made sustainable shopping available, and we're at a point now where we have hundreds of thousands of people that have bought from us over the past few years, over the past 17 years, and that means hundreds of thousands of more sustainable shopping choices, and each one of those customers is contributing to this broader sustainable ecosystem. So I suppose, it's a tricky one, because in a way the answer is yes and no, because realistically one person on their own is not going to make a difference, but one person plus another person plus another person, eventually that adds up. And by making sustainable businesses available, you allow customers the choice of making a sustainable, you're allowing them the opportunity to make a sustainable choice. And especially with younger customers, Gen Z, millennials, we're starting to see that they want to make a lot more sustainable choices. And so they are asking for these kinds of brands, they're asking for these kinds of choices. And so, when a business makes it available, those customers are able to make those choices, and it has a ripple effect.
Does things being good to the earth, should they be more expensive than the normal product? Because that big debate about people are like, I want to do good, but I don't want to pay more to do good.
So I do understand that, because it, unfortunately, it has become a little bit of a luxury to shop sustainably. And I think there's a few reasons for that. First of all, natural products often cost more because they're harvested naturally, and so just the physical logistics and supply chain process of obtaining those products is more expensive than making something in a factory or in a lab with machines. So there is, there's a very practical consideration around the fact that natural products usually contain natural materials which are more expensive. Having said that, though, I think specifically when Faithful to Nature started out around 17 years ago, there really weren't that many natural products available in South Africa. None of them were really locally made. So it ended up being a lot more expensive because you were importing product. But what we're starting to see now, specifically in the last 5 to 10 years, which has been amazing, is we're starting to see a lot more South African businesses offering sustainable products, or products starting up. There's a lot more awareness now around sustainable products. People are starting businesses. And so it's much easier for us to source product that is more cost effective because it's made locally. And there's a lot of other benefits to that as well. I mean, less carbon footprint because you're not importing, it's cheaper, we're supporting local jobs. And so, it's really exciting to see that movement towards more local sourcing, because that also means the price is more affordable for customers. So I do think that there might be a slight price premium, but I think the gap is dropping, and it's becoming a lot more accessible as these brands are starting to grow and build. And I think that's really exciting.
The other day I was trying to get an orange juice and one woman was like, "They're out of season. You have no idea what you're doing to the planet." I was like, I love orange juice, but I had no clue that there was a season for oranges. And she was just like, no, so she didn't come at me with a harsh intent. So we were able to converse. And she was like, hey, they're out of season. If they're out of season, it means that they have to take, they have to fly them from there, and there's a carbon footprint. And I was like, okay, cool, I understand that. But the cool thing for me that I like is that I always feel I want to help the world. I want to do better, but I need someone to tell me respectfully. I just want just don't shout at me, don't scream at me, don't undermine me. If the message comes correctly, and I've seen your packaging is quite like friendly, and it's not like attacking or belittling. And I feel like I want to use your products because it's quite like it's inviting to do good.
Yeah.
And I think that's got to be changed a lot. But why do you think people are skeptical about the eco solutions? Why do you think people are skeptical? Is it price? Is it
I think it's possibly price, and I think it's also there's a perceived lack of efficacy, right? Because we've become so inculcated.
What does that mean? I love that word. I will use that word. Inculcated.
Okay, so it basically means brainwashed, in a way. I guess we've become so brainwashed to believe that like chemical products are better. But are they really? Because they contain a number of chemicals, and often the long-term effects of those chemicals on our personal health is questionable, because a lot of these chemicals are what we call endocrine disruptors, and endocrine's a fancy word for hormones. So they disrupt your hormones, especially for women. So that kind of ties back to the trend we were talking about previously in terms of hormonal health. And do you really want to use a product that is going to disrupt your hormones over the long term? No. And by the way, if it's not good for you, it's probably not good for Mother Earth either. So, I think a lot of these, and let's be honest, these brands, businesses that are driving these chemical products have big marketing budgets, and, these products are effective to a certain extent, but there are other factors that I think we're starting to become aware that we need to consider as well. So the impact on our physical health, the impact on our environment, and hopefully people are starting to become aware of the fact that it's more than just what does it do and how much does it cost? How much does it cost the earth? What is the impact on me and my family going to be? And these are things that hopefully customers are starting to consider in their purchase decisions beyond just, the basics.
So this might have nothing to do with food, but in my industry, when you have to try sell a ticket, we've realized as entertainers and performers that people aren't just buying a ticket to your show because you're talented anymore. They go and they research about what kind of person you are, what do you stand for, the ethics behind you, to be able to sell one ticket. In the olden days, it was about, Siv is funny, Siv is talented, we'll go buy a ticket. But not anymore. Now it's about Siv fights GBV, he has a sundry pad company, and that's what they buy tickets for. Sorry. And that's what's happening now. People are starting to care more about who you are.
So I'm gonna have to get you to do that.
Sure. So what's starting to happen now, it's not enough to be talented or have a skill. People are now buying a ticket because not just you're talented or you're an entertainer, but because you're ethical and you stand for particular things that they stand with. And now it's becoming harder to sell a ticket.
Well, because people are looking for authenticity, right? And I think it goes beyond just what you say, it's also about what you do. And I think, that holds true for individuals, but it also holds true for businesses. And I think that's why we're starting to see businesses like Faithful to Nature thrive, because customers are looking for authenticity. They are looking beyond greenwashing. And if we have a minute, I'd love to talk about greenwashing.
Okay, let's end off with greenwashing. Because before we carry on, there is a company that we all love, but if I leave my apples in my fridge for an entire month, I come back, they look exactly the same. That can't be healthy for me, can it?
Well, it depends on the processes they used, because if it's a natural process like refrigeration, probably not so bad. But if there are
An
any
apple lasting for a month.
no comment.
Okay, no problem. Okay, greenwashing.
Right.
Let's end off with greenwashing.
So I think it's really interesting. You can't really have a conversation about sustainability these days without actually talking about greenwashing, because greenwashing is essentially companies masquerading as sustainable when they're probably really not. And one of the biggest offenders here is fast fashion. And I'm really not trying to point fingers. I'm just using an example to help customers understand. So an example of greenwashing would be perhaps focusing on one sustainable range when actually the rest of your stuff is not sustainable and it ends up in landfill. So, and I think, customers are starting to get wise to this, and they're looking, they're starting to ask questions and, wonder, well, how sustainable is this really? So I think building trust and authenticity is so important. And I think especially for businesses that operate in the sustainable space, building trust with your customers about the fact that your practices are sustainable starts with transparency, and radical transparency, being really clear about what you do. And also when maybe there isn't as sustainable an option available, being transparent about that too and owning it. And I think it's that trust and that transparency that is going to essentially help a sustainable business really build relationships with their customers and convince them that they are in fact sustainable.
So in other words, you can't be a company that says, we are sustainable fishing, but you kill a couple of dolphins along the way.
No BS allowed.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. It's in my life, I wish I was more in tune with sustainability, but you've made it so, what's the word, accessible. And I feel like sometimes,
that's our plan.
Sometimes I feel like people in this world don't make it accessible. So people like me are like, no, thank you. But thank you so much. And I think you should do more of these talks. This was really, really accessible, and I actually enjoyed it. And it made me want to be a better me when I shop. So thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
It's good to see you.
You too.
After that episode, I really am inspired to be a better version of myself. Next time I bite into an apple, I will think where it came from, and I'll think where it's going. See you on the next episode.